the fuck is up? It's your host, Big Hugeman, and I'm back with another exciting end of the year vlog. And as you know, every year I like to count down my top 10 albums of the year. And in this case, 2024. Obviously, what other year would I be doing if it wasn't this year? But yeah, this has been an exciting year for new music releases. Some would agree, some would not. But you know what? Let's get into it because I haven't had this much variety in my list probably since 2 years ago. So let's find out. Number 10, we have Eviscerate by Idola. So I didn't really get into Idola until right before The Architect came out, because I had heard about the joint publishing deals that Rise Records had done with Pale Chord and Blue Swan. So I think like the biggest double-edged sword about that was the fact that Idola's first album under this joint publishing deal was releasing the same day that Eternal Blue by Spiritbox did. So it's like one was gonna outshine the other, but probably didn't come to that, which I hope not, because I mean I bought them both. I streamed them both, but anyways, so I really like The Architect, but you know, that year there was just so much better music. And then comes Eviscerate, and I heard the first two singles and I'm like, this is not the average Swancore music that you would come to expect from someone from Blue Swan. In fact, it's so much heavier. Like, I would even go as far as to say that this is more of a metalcore approach than anything, because you know, they're post-hardcore, they're math rock, etc. But nope, not in this instance. It is full-on horns from the bull fucking metalcore, and that's probably my favorite thing about this album, is that I do slightly remember Andrew Wells talking about how he got like a 7-8 string fucking guitar for the new album, and I was like, oh god, he's gonna write some heavy shit. And he did. And the craziest part, you know, in The Architect, in the beginning song, what is it, Hidden Worship, he screams. He does the screaming parts leading up to the end. But in this one, he does like a lot more screaming than he did on that track. But you know, you still have the other vocalist. I'm sorry, forgive me, I forgot his name. But you still have him, you know, doing screams. But you know, the both of them doing screamings is just, it's great. And Andrew does it so well too. And his singing shines like crazy in here, especially in the I don't remember if it was the first single or like the first song on this album, but like the notes, the high notes that he hits, it's like holy shit. You know, I'm pretty sure he did that to you know, kind of beat the whole he can't sing like Tillian allegations, because oh man, ever since like he's been doing singing duties for Dance Gavin Dance, people have constantly compared him to Tillian, or you know, people have compared him to relying on Tillian's backtracks for live performances, and he shines like crazy in this album, singing, screaming, instrumentally, you fucking name it. But Eviscerate, Idola, best way to cap off this list. It's incredible, must listen. Number 9, we have Self-Titled by Make Them Suffer. This is another band that I recently got into. I got a good friend of mine in Ireland who's like fucking crazy about Make Them Suffer, and he has every right to be, because let's face it, they've got a pretty solid discography. Some would say that they kind of fell off after their first album. Some would say that they've carried that weight well since their first album, because you know, they started off deathcore with the Lord of Woe EP and Neverbloom. Yeah, Neverbloom. And then after that, it's just more, I guess, progressive metalcore. But Old Souls is good. Roads Apart's pretty good. And then you have How to Survive a Funeral, which is pretty good. But honestly, this one is just holy shit. There's so many different vibes that I get from this album, while it stays true to, you know, Make Them Suffer fashion metalcore. I'd probably have to say that Monogod reminds me a lot of Veil of Maya. It sounds exactly like something Veil of Maya would have written. And then there's Oscillator. Oh god, I can't tell you how many fucking times I played that song when it first came out. I'm not sure why they stretched out, you know, the release of this album for so long, because you know, we had Doom Switch in 2022, we had Ghost of Me, and I think Epitaph last year, and then there was Oscillator and Monogod this year, so that's like half the fucking album that's already out. But they're good tunes. You know, the remainder of the album makes up for the quality that we got leading up to, well, not leading up to it, but rather what we got before. So it's a solid album. It's great. It's everything you want from a metalcore album, and I can't recommend this more. And I can't recommend this album enough. So number 9, self-titled, Make Them Suffer. Number 8, I Wanna Disappear. The Story So Far. This has been a long fucking time waiting. Mostly for, you know, OG fans that have been following them since day one, fans that still follow them, you know, ever since Proper Dose. Because there's been a huge gap. Well, it's some instances it's a large gap between Proper Dose and I Wanna Disappear. It turns out the reason they initially, you know, put out Big Blind last year was because one of the members had stated that they were contractually obligated to put out music, which, I mean, does kind of make sense. You know, you're on a contract, you might want to put out some music, but I think part of me wants to believe that Parker still wanted to ride the high from Proper Dose, because let's face it, Proper Dose has peaked The Story So Far. I'm sorry, OG fans, but Proper Dose is just peak. Now, that's not to take away from the quality that is I Wanna Disappear. There are some fast-paced songs. There are some more mellow tracks. Some of these mellow tracks don't even feel like pop punk songs. Like, I personally have moved away from pop punk for the last couple years, but The Story So Far is like my only exception. And this album, it's apparent that they, you know, stray away from, you know, the pop punk label. They just kind of go and do their own thing. I got a friend of mine that says that it's basically Diet Oasis. He's not wrong. I'm gonna go and point him out. He's not wrong, because Letterman generally feels like a fucking Oasis song. And if you've seen them live, or if you've seen footage of their live performances, Parker stands still the whole time because he thinks he's a fucking Gallagher. But like I said, not to take away from the quality that is the album, because it's got some really good songs. I think like the vast majority of this album has probably been on repeat ever since it came out. Like I really love White Shores. Finding out that Parker wrote this song in memory of his father hit me like fucking bricks, because you know, my relationship with my parents has improved tremendously over the years, and you know, hearing him, you know, open up about it, be open about his father, it really tugs at the heartstrings. But yeah, it's a really solid album. I'd go as far as to say that it's just your standard rock album from somebody who from a group that came up in pop punk. So, you know, I'm not a pop punk guy as much these days, but The Story So Far, I've always got time for them. So number 8, I Wanna Disappear, The Story So Far. Number 7, In Search of an Antidote, Fletcher. Oh my god, he's talking about pure extreme lesbian core. You're goddamn right. And you know what? It fucks. In Search of an Antidote. My only complaint with this album is that it's really short. Like, you compare this to what was her fucking 2022 album? I don't forgot the name already. But yeah, her 2022 album, I think especially the deluxe, I don't remember which version I have, but yeah, it's like almost twice as long as this one. But yeah, In Search of an Antidote's great. You know, you listen to songs like Eras of Us and Lead Me On, I think that's what it's called, that the one that fucking that she kept trying to push on TikTok. I'm sure it took off on TikTok, because I mean, Bitter is still taking off on TikTok. So you listen to these songs and you think, oh, okay, it's just average pop, but then you go and listen to the rest of it and you realize that is not the case. Fletcher knows how to cater to listeners of all sorts. Not to say that she's experimental, not to say that she's, you know, taking a new metal approach or whatever, but she knows how to cater to, like, you know, the enjoyment of different sounds. And I think that's what shines the most in Search of an Antidote, because, you know, if you go in head first, listen to the singles, or if you're somebody that just discovered Bitter on TikTok, you're gonna go in this and think, okay, it's just average pop. She had one hit, that's it. Fuck no, dude, she has hits. Whether it's from the sex tapes, whether it's from, I just forgot the name of the fucking album again. Her first one. And I had it on repeat when I first started listening to her. And then you have In Search of an Antidote. Like I said, my only criticism is that it's too short, but it's great. I love it. I almost had the chance to see her live this year, but Hurricane Helene had other plans, and then a fucking power plant blew up in Conyers, which is en route to Atlanta from where I am. So couldn't get into the fucking city to see her if I wanted to. Not gonna take away from the fact that In Search of an Antidote is fucking Kino. So there we have it. Number 7, In Search of an Antidote, Fletcher. Number 6, The Great Impersonator, Halsey. Oh my god, Halsey not in my top 5. Well, I mean, you had Manic. You also had, If I Can't Have Love, I Want Power. But here's the thing about that, there was a lot of good music that year. So, can't really say that I was knocking the album. There was so much more that I was into. Yeah, the Great Impersonator does kind of come short on my top 5 because it's at number 6. Not knocking the quality of this album. Here's my thing about The Great Impersonator. It is not an album for casual listening. This is what could have been, a parting letter to fans. And, when I first listened to the end, I thought to myself, wow, if this is part of what we hear from the last ever Halsey album, it's gonna break my fucking heart. And then she put out Lucky, she put out Ego. I fucking love Ego, dude. I can't tell you how many fucking times that song has come on my speaker at work. But yeah, Lucky has a very upbeat instrumental. Not to take away from the message that it sends, which is hey, I got fucking dumped at my first movie premiere because the line became a single mother at my premiere. That shit hurt to fucking listen to. And Ego is also a little more upbeat, but I gotta be honest, man. Every time I hear the line, I'm not that happy being me, I wanna cry. Yeah, I fought tears. I fought back so many tears listening to this because, not only is it not casual listening, but it's what could have been a parting letter to fans. If this was her parting letter to her fans in regards to her health, I would have been sad, but I would have been grateful. I am grateful that, we got another Halsey album, even if it's not, what Badlands, Hopeless Fountain, Manic consisted of when I first heard those, but it's a quality album. It's pinned to the fucking paper, complete detail of what Halsey had been through between I don't know if I should say Manic or Love and Power, but she sums up a lot of events of what happened between those two albums and the release of The Great Impersonator. Panic Attack. Oh my god. That is a straight up fucking Fleetwood Mac song, or just a Stevie Nicks song. Don't knock me, I don't listen to either of those, but I get the gist of what their sound is. And Panic Attack fucks. And then you have the Letter to God series. Oh god. The fucking monsoon of tears that I wanted to let out when I was listening to the Letter to God series. Oh. And you can tell it's not the same chorus every song. She changes it up. Well, not every single song, but rather these are interludes. She changes it up as you go and listen to it. It's she switches up the lyrics a little bit to kind of fit the tone of the message she's trying to portray in her letters to God. And I think it's beautiful, but god damn, I want to fucking cry every time I hear it. And so, yes, number 6, The Great Impersonator, Halsey. Number 5, Posthuman Next Gen, Bring Me the Horizon. Now this has been fucking stretched out as far as releases go. And, it does kind of feel like, Ollie and gang wanted to kind of pinpoint what they wanted for the album. But then there was after, what was it? Was it Amen or Dark Side? At some point after that, word started getting around about why they fired Jordan, or they say that they parted ways with Jordan, but a lot of people speculate that it was termination. A lot of people speculate that what he was doing in his off time was giving the band a bad rep. Like I said, this is just rumors. I can't confirm or deny anything. I don't have the sources to back this up, so please don't hold me to it. But you can tell if you look at the producer credits after, I believe, Kool-Aid or Dark Side, one of those. You can tell that some of the songs are mixed, produced differently, and I think everything after the release of Kool-Aid, you don't see Jordan's name in the producer credits, and I believe that's because, back to the rumor mill, supposedly Jordan was holding the album hostage because he wanted more. He wanted more of his share of the cut of what the band was making because he felt like he was doing more. I mean, mashing keys on a fucking keyboard and producing. Like, okay, Ollie was producing too, but that doesn't mean that he's gonna fucking take more than what he earned. But yeah, it's after that where you can tell that he worked on the songs, but he's not credited as a producer. So I do feel like the rumors about him holding Next Gen hostage are true because we never had a release date after the release of was it Strangers or Amen. They kept getting pushed, and we were supposed to get this album September of last year, and then it got pushed to January because of I think it was because of mixing or finishing stages, or maybe it was like vinyl publishing or whatever. Something along those lines was continuously pushing the release of Next Gen. And then, Jordan gets fired. They release Kool-Aid. And literally out of nowhere, on a random Thursday in May, you see a trailer for the release of Next Gen. It's the next fucking day. They were like, you know what? We got the album. Jordan doesn't fucking have a grasp on it anymore. Let's go ahead and put it out. Because what is it? That fucking I don't know if you should call like a VTuber icon or whatever, but Eve. I don't know what they call Eve. Whether it's like a VTuber icon or some shit. they pretty much pinned the blame on the album coming out so early on her. Because she's like, oh, the band was taking the piss, so I just released it myself. But enough about that. Everything after the release of Kool-Aid, because we have Die For You, we have Strangers, Amen, Dark Side, and Kool-Aid. That's 5 singles out of 12, 13 songs that are on this album. And when you go to listen to this album, you can tell that the remainder of the album is produced differently. I think it starts with Dark Side, maybe Kool-Aid, one of those. But yeah, around the same time that they were gearing up to release those songs, you could tell that Jordan's presence with the band was literally non-existent anymore. And right before 2023 ends, they part ways with them, supposedly. I'm pretty sure it's termination. But yeah, this album's great. I fucking love Limousine. N.A. Top 10 statues that cried blood. There's so many good tracks. Some people go on to say that it kind of falls short compared to Survival Horror. I disagree. I think they're both on par. Both records have strengths and weaknesses that they both have strengths and weaknesses that counter one another. And I feel like I understand when some people say that Survival Horror is greater than or equal to Next Gen, but I like them both. Maybe it's just part of me that's finally digesting some new Bring Me the Horizon, because we've had a pretty long fucking wait since Survival Horror. But you know what? We got new Bring Me. I think that's all that fucking matters. And guess what? It's good. It's number 5. Posthuman Next Gen. Bring Me the Horizon. Number 4. Blue Lips. Schoolboy Q. Everybody and their fucking mamas was wearing bucket hats in 2014 when Oxymoron dropped. Flash forward 10 years later, you don't get the same level of talking that people, were going on about with Oxymoron. But hey, sale numbers and shit don't dictate the quality of an album. It's what you listen to and what you get out of it that determines whether it's good or not, at least in your perspective. Blue Lips, in my case, has got to be some of the craziest fucking beats that I've heard. The first time that I heard Urine 101, oh my god, I was like, this is gonna rupture my fucking sound system in my car stereo, at least. Because I hear those rapid beats go off, and I'm like, god damn. I've never heard crazier beats. And please do not fucking talk to me about EDM, because I don't want to hear any fucking bass drops. But yeah, as far as like, you know, West Coast hip hop, Blue Lips is somebody pointed this out on Threads. The West Coast had something to say this year, because you know what happened right after Blue Lips released, right? A couple months after release, but yeah, the West Coast has had some shit to say this year. You know, we had Blue Lips, we had the Kendrick Lamar Drake beef, we had Chromacopia. I honestly had no idea Tyler Carter was from. Just go ahead and fucking kill me. I had no idea that Tyler the Creator was from Cali, but that's cool because, you know, West Coast hip hop. West Coast took over hip hop this year, and that's gonna be apparent a lot later in this list. But yeah, Blue Lips, craziest fucking beats that I've heard. And like, there's even tracks on here where he doesn't even rap over a beat. He's rapping over fucking I don't know if it's classical or easy listening samples. One of those. He's rapping over those, and it's so fluid. That's the thing about Schoolboy Q, is that regardless if he's not as popular as he was when Oxymoron first released, he is consistent, he's fluid. You are never gonna catch him missing a beat, missing a step in his music. Like, sure, you know, Blankface, Crash Talk, they didn't measure up to what Oxymoron was. And that's okay, because they didn't have to. You know, if you peak that early on in your career, that's fine. That doesn't mean you still can't bounce back and put out some fucking bangers. And he has been doing that since Oxymoron. Especially Blue Lips. Because, like I told you, craziest beats I've heard. Back in Love. That's another example of crazy beats. I fucking love Back in Love. I love it. But yeah, those are probably like my two favorites from this album. Ohio's great. I love that, you know, transition between like no beats and then full on beats, and then it's back to no beats, especially when Freddie Gibbs comes on. It's great. I love it. It's number 4, Blue Lips, Schoolboy Q. Number 3, Bando Stone and the New World, Childish Gambino. If this is Childish Gambino's parting gift to the world music, I'm satisfied. Initially, I would have disagreed because I gotta be honest. When I first heard this album, I was on Spotify listening to it. I only had like half of it saved, and I wasn't really huge on it, but I understood his approach, and I think for me, it just needed to grow. It just needed to grow on me. And, you know, some of my friends can back me up on that, on how, you know, this album's a grower, because it is. That doesn't mean it's not good at the first place. It's just, you might miss things, or you might not appreciate it as much at first, and that's fine. You know, I've needed so many fucking re-listens for past albums, and I'm not afraid to admit that. But, oh man, when I went back and listened to it, I was like, oh man, I almost fumbled this, because usually when new music comes out, I go ahead and buy the album right away. I didn't do so for Alta Vista and Bando, but you know, when I was able to, and I did, and I go back and listen to them, and I'm like, these are so much better than I remember. Because they are. Oh, Lithonia is fucking beautiful. I cannot begin to express just how amazing that song is, and it's very apparent of how much he loves his home state, because I mean, he literally names it after the city of Lithonia. The one song that catches my attention every fucking time this album comes on, In the Night. Oh god, that song belongs in a museum. I'm sorry, In the Night belongs in a museum. Yoshinoya also belongs in a museum. Like, oh. And here's another thing that I took when I went back to revisit this album as much as I did. Whereas in Awaken My Love, you know, he experiments a lot with his voice. He also experiments a lot with musical elements that are popular in black culture, specifically music that's prominent in black culture. For Bando Stone, he experiments a lot with, just overall popular genres. Like, he even has a fucking pop punk song on here. Running Around. I love that song.
It's really crazy what he could do in one song, much better than what MGK did in 2 albums.
I firmly stand on that, but it's a grower, and once it grows on you, you never stop playing it. So, like I said earlier, if this is his parting gift to the world of music, I'm satisfied. I hope he rescinds that and he goes back on his word, but I'm not gonna push that guy's retirement or push the guy's exit, to like postpone it or whatnot. No, let him sit on the fucking beach and enjoy his retirement. Number 3, Bando Stone in the New World, Childish Gambino. Number 2, Timeless, Kaytranada. Oh man. So this is another artist, or rather DJ producer, that I got into recently. Funny story. He and Snow Allegra were the rotating support acts for the Weeknd's After Hours Till Dawn tour. I thought he was gonna go on before the Weeknd at the Atlanta date. Nope, it was Snow Allegra. But bright side, I got into a new artist, and I gotta say, I generally don't really get into DJs and producers that just make like standard beats. Because when I think of DJs, producers making music, I always think of EDM, and I did have an EDM phase, but that's with the exception of Cruella, that's behind me. But yeah, Kaytranada makes the most unique beats I have ever heard, and that's not a takeaway from other DJs in the rap, R&B industry scene, whatever you want to call it. But if you had to make me choose between Kaytranada and DJ Khaled, I think that answer is obvious, because I'm not fucking listening to DJ Khaled scream his name and then you hear a not so unique beat, whereas you put on something like 10% or Drive Me Crazy or fucking Lover Friend, and you can tell that like he knows how to experiment with beats, and it's so apparent in this album, because what is it, Spit It Out, but technically both songs that he does with Rochelle Jordan, like they don't even sound that similar. But yeah, the magic he works with these fucking beats on Timeless, I'm on cloud fucking 9. Like, you name it, whether it's Witchy, whether it's Due to Me, whether it's Feel Away. Oh my god, you have no idea how many fucking times I've played Feel Away, Spit It Out, Hold On, the whole fucking album. Even the song that very brief song he makes with Thundercat. I'm not an avid Thundercat listener, so I don't know what his material's like, but yeah, it's start to finish, chef's kiss. That's all I gotta say about Timeless. That's all I gotta say about Kaytranada's discography in general. I haven't listened to Kaytramina yet, but I don't keep up with Amine, so I'm not desperate to listen to that. But yeah, all 3 of Kaytranada's albums, especially Timeless, absolute cinema. Like, whereas 99.9 has the better beats, Bubba has the better features, and I feel like Timeless brings those two together, and you have absolute fucking keynote. So, number 2, Timeless, Kaytranada. I'm gonna put this mic down for a little bit. I like to do this every single time I'm about to reveal my number 1. So, drum roll. Let me pick my microphone back up. Number 1, GNX, Kendrick Lamar. Oh. I deserve it all. I wholeheartedly agree. Best fucking surprise drop ever. And I've sat through Kamikaze, and I've sat through The Stage. Nothing is going to compare to this. Oh man. Everyone kind of saw this coming though, because a lot of his former label mates, or really not just his label mates, but his friends as well, over at TDE and various other labels and whatnot, have been teasing that Kendrick Lamar is going to come out with an album. Nobody ever specified when. They just said, yeah, it's coming, it'll be soon. And I thought, oh my god, it could be any fucking moment now, because, you know, Canadian Colonizer awakens the beast, and next thing you know, he's pummeling out music. He put out the best fucking diss tracks all this year, and then he put out Watch the Party Die after being confirmed for the Super Bowl halftime show in Louisiana, which that's another fucking story. But and then I see on his Finsta that he released, or that he teases a new album, a new project. I see that teaser, and all he says, and all he captions it is GNX. And then Complex reports, "Oh my god, surprise Kendrick Lamar album just came out." And I said, no fucking way. So I go and listen to it, and I'm just in awe. Don't get me wrong, I'm still in love with Mr. Morale and the Big Steppers, but I am also in love with GNX. And the songs that he features, how do you pronounce her name? SZA? SZA? Somebody told me it was SZA, so I'm gonna say SZA. The songs that he writes with SZA are just incredible. Like, they are the perfect fucking duo, and this has been apparent since All the Stars. I can't lie. All the Stars is great, but like every song that they're on together is just peak. I love Gloria. I love Luther, and we already know about TV Off. Every time that beat switch comes on and he's about to scream mustard, everybody fucking joins in on it. That phrase alone had social media in such a fucking chokehold. This man has a chokehold on everyone, everything in the fucking world right now. And I think that is like clear. That is a clear example of his impact, not only in music but entertainment, everything whatsoever. Like, the media has eyes on Kendrick Lamar, and this man is about to take over the fucking world. And you know what? I'm buttering my fucking popcorn, waiting to watch this happen. Another takeaway from GNX is how he acknowledges the fucking tantrum that Lil Wayne threw when he tried to make the whole Super Bowl halftime show announcement all about him having it ripped away from him, which I think is stupid. Like, literally all he said was that my hard work must have let Lil Wayne down. Like, he doesn't diss him. He doesn't say anything that's worthy of a diss to him. And I guess Lil Wayne thought, okay, somebody's dissing me. I'm gonna get in the studio, flick a fucking lighter in the microphone, and just say the worst shit you ever heard. Because, let's be honest, Lil Wayne has not been on top since Carter 4, and he is especially not a battle rapper. So if he tries to engage in this with Kendrick, that man's done. That man's not even well. He's not even gonna be well done. He's gonna be congratulated. But yeah, GNX #1, Kendrick Lamar. All these albums are worth streaming, honestly. So, you know, whether you want to take my word for it or not, that is entirely up to you. All I gotta say is, thanks for watching, thanks for tuning in. Be sure to subscribe, ring the bell, visit my link tree for all my links, and we'll see you later.